So today I thought I'd try something a little bit different. I've always written an allotment diary, and that's available on my website, and you could subscribe to that and you can get a notification in your email every time I write that. But it just seemed to me that it would be actually quite nice to make a video version of that diary, and maybe even a podcast version, which would just be the audio to this video at some time in the future. And if you're interested in a podcast version, just let me know in the comments, and I'll see if there's enough demand to justify the effort to publish that. So yeah, a little bit different. What I thought I'd just do is step through the week and go through all the sorts of little bits and pieces of work that I do, which never really makes it to the videos, or maybe you didn't watch a video because you didn't think you might be interested, but just to get a little glimpse of it in this review of the week, and then you might dive into the video. So I'll put links to the videos in here in the show notes, which on my iPad at the moment, but will be on my website for you to take a look at. So I thought I'd start off on Monday and talk a little bit about the rain. We've actually had rain, decent amount of rain, lots and lots of rain. And it's amazing. You know, the plants are looking great. They're really starting to recover from the heat stress, the water stress that they've had. Basically since May, we've hardly had any. I think we've had about 40 millimetres of rain since May. It's been absolutely ridiculous. Our reservoirs are in the Lake District, and I'll just pop a picture up of Haweswater, which is the main reservoir that supplies us with water down here in Lytham St Annes, and it basically looks like a puddle. Just to give you some stats, I think that last week it was at 30% capacity. Now, actually in this picture it looks a lot lower than that, but 30% capacity, and it's meant to be at this time of year normally at something like 70% capacity. So that is a huge drop. And it's not, even though we've had all this rain, it's not filling with water. The rain's just being soaked up by the land, which is so dehydrated. And so I think we're losing 2.5% capacity every week. So that's the level of demand is outstripping supply by that degree. And that is pretty bad going into winter. I mean, I've never seen anything like it here. And I think this is the worst drought that the Lake District has seen for something like 150 years. And of course, water demand from the Lake District was way, way low 150 years ago. So it's pretty bad. And my daughter, actually, she works for Thames Water, and she was saying that down south, they're just completing a pipeline that connects the Lake District to the water supply down south, so that if they've got shortages, they can tap into the Lake District surplus. Well, that hasn't worked out very well this year. So I sort of also been full of cold, haven't got COVID, I did the test, but it's kept me in St Annes. But the other thing that's kept me in St Annes, of course, is the fuel crisis. But I'm not really complaining. It's a beautiful place to be, and there's lots to do here. And I've actually been looking after my granddaughter quite a lot this week, and regular readers of my diary will know that she had open heart surgery, I think it was about 12 weeks ago now, and she's doing great. She went in the bouncer for the first time on Monday, and she absolutely loved it. So there's a little picture for you so you can see what a happy little bunny she is. So on Tuesday we actually got some fine weather, but it was mainly sunny with showers, and gosh, those showers do make for some amazing photo opportunities at this time of year. We live by the seaside, just like a 5-minute walk away from the front door of the house, and it's absolutely stunning when the sun is shining and the clouds are so contrasty. So I just can't resist putting a few pictures up for you so you can see what it looks like here. Absolutely great. But really what I've been focusing on while it's been raining is writing new chapters of my book, and I've got a list here of the ones that I've just been working on. So I finally finished my guide to making compost. This is the way that I make compost. It's not just a general guide to making compost, because there's thousands of those out there already on the internet. I do just list some of the basic points, give you some links to really some great other sources on making compost, but I go through really my process. And you know, a lot of people ask for that, so finally got it done, finally got it documented, finally made a quick video about it. So if you want to look at those, take a look in the post that accompanies this and you'll find the links. Next thing I did was my guide to growing garlic and green garlic. So not much to say about garlic, although it still took me about 2 hours to write that chapter, which was surprising because there's always just so much to research, so much, going back into my records, looking at what did well, what didn't do well, and all that sort of thing. And so this guide, like every guide that gardener writes, is kind of personal to them and their circumstances, but I tried to generalise it as best I could. I do dwell quite a lot on green garlic because I don't think enough people grow green garlic. It's a fantastic crop. It is nothing special. It is just ordinary garlic that's harvested before it's fully matured. So it's before the bulb has split into cloves. And at that point, the stem is really nice and tasty and not dry or anything like that. And so it's fantastic. You can also eat the scapes, of course, of garlic. And when you're doing green garlic as well, one of the points is use all the rubbish cloves, the cloves that you wouldn't really want to use for your main crop garlic, because they'll just be fine for green garlic. It might be a little bit thin or something like that, but it doesn't matter because you're going to chop it up anyway. So yeah, green garlic, if you're interested in that, and just ordinary garlic, all the timings, all the tips, all the techniques and all of that sort of thing. Again, a new chapter on that in the individual growing guide section of the book. So one of my most popular videos is actually about the pros and cons of cold frames, low tunnels, polytunnels, fleece, all those sorts of things. And I finally wrote a chapter of the book going through how to actually make all those things. Now, I don't tell you how to make a high tunnel, a big polytunnel, because we didn't make one, we bought one. But I do link to the video where I did my sort of design of that and all the modifications that I made to the design that First Tunnels did, because I think there was quite a lot of improvements that needed to be made. But I do go through how to make all the other things. So from a raised bed to a cold frame to a low tunnel to a hotbed. Although at this point in time, I don't really recommend making hotbeds. I've put the instructions in for how to do it, but it's just not worth it. It's better to buy grow lights. You get things just as early with grow lights as you do by using a hotbed, but with a heck of a lot less effort and less money. And I'm almost done with my guide to growing spinach. I mean, most of the guts of that chapter I've written, and certainly be written probably by tomorrow anyway when you see this video. So I've really enjoyed that one. I love growing spinach. We grow loads of spinach, lots of different successions of spinach to get a nice continuous harvest all year round. And we substitute and complement the spinach crop with other things. So in summer we use, early summer we use Mikado, which is an Asian spinach. We use that in autumn as well. In midsummer we use New Zealand spinach. And to complement spinach, because the volumes are quite low over winter and into early spring, then we use field bean tips. So all the information about all of those different tips and techniques for growing spinach are again in the description below. And also on Tuesday, I finally got around to potting on my Shirley's Pixie Tomatoes. One of the viewers recommended those, so I thought I'd give it a go. I have tried lots of times to grow tomatoes over winter. The best I did, I think, was tomatoes in December. The taste wasn't that great, the yield wasn't that great. I don't know, I just keep on giving it a go. I like to see them growing in the conservatory, which is my office space really. And you can see them behind me here, and they're growing okay. So yeah, they look lovely. Whether they give me a yield or not, I don't really mind. So let's get on to Wednesday now. A lot of people say to me, Steve, you work so hard. I don't really work very hard. I always get so embarrassed when people say that to me. No, I don't. And so I thought I would just give you like my normal morning routine in autumn and winter. It's a bit different when the weather's better. But right now, get up about 7 o'clock, do watering in the grow light area in the workshop and in the conservatory, and leave the house about 7:15, 7:20, something like that, and I walk into town to the local Caffè Nero, and I do kind of my research, reading, writing sort of stuff there for a couple of hours, and it's one of the most enjoyable parts of the day. I really love it. I've done it for probably close to 20 years now, almost every single day. It doesn't matter where I am in the country, I always find a Caffè Nero and spend the first 2 hours of the day there. And I did that when I was working as well it's just such a great way to start the day. And of course, you know, all the regulars there and everything, and it's such a lovely way to get started. So after that, I walk along the beach, do a bit of circuit around the prom, and I go to my health club, and there I normally do a short workout, about 10 minutes, high intensity weights, alternating legs and arms and all that sort of thing. And then I go in the sauna for about 20 minutes, have a cold shower, go in the steam room for about 10 minutes, have a cold shower, although I've skipped one of those cold showers because we're so short of water, and then go for a nice swim, I don't know, 20-30 lengths or something like that. And then I sit by the side of the pool and read for about half an hour, join the jacuzzi, go in the poolside lounge, which is beautiful, and it's such a lovely place to work. It's really quiet, and you're overlooking the pool, the lighting's really nice, it's very relaxing and warm and all of that sort of thing. And that's where I generally do my writing of my book. So that's not a bad morning. Then I go for another walk along the beach, and I come home and have breakfast, because I've had breakfast by then, even though it's lunchtime. And then I'll do something else. And sometimes that's on the allotment, sometimes it's hiking, sometimes it's cycling, sometimes it's gardening in the back garden, sometimes it's babysitting, sometimes it's going to the cinema, etc., etc. Lots of different things. So yeah, pretty relaxing day. So on this afternoon, I did go to the allotment and I dug up all of my ginger. I was really pleased with it. There's some lovely ginger roots on there. But they were a little bit small because they were planted out really late. I don't think I even put them in the ground until June. And they were a gift from one of the people that gets veg from us. And they grew really well. I was really pleased with them, still really pleased with them, having harvested them. What we're going to do though is we're not going to use the ginger roots. We're going to pot, in fact, I've already done it. I potted all of those ginger roots up. And so hopefully that'll give us a nice early start in spring next year. And we'll get some bigger ginger roots, and then we'll take some of those, maybe 50%, and then we'll pot the rest up. But we're about to harvest the stems to do something with stem ginger, maybe something like a ginger syrup or something like that, cough syrup type of thing, or just a general drink. And we'll also do leaf ginger, and we'll probably dehydrate that and use that in teas. So quite excited about that, because ginger is such an amazing thing to eat. And it's the first time really that we've grown it. I've got a great spot in the Polytunnel, two great spots actually in the Polytunnel for it. So we're expanding the amount of ginger we do for next year. And yeah, I mean, it looks so beautiful. Stem ginger is amazing. So those ginger plants are now behind me. They're getting a bit of advantage from the grow lights that are also behind me. I do really love these grow lights in the conservatory. I've talked about it on lots of different videos. But it's just great if you suffer at all from seasonal affectiveness disorder. And I don't suffer bad, but honestly, it does lift my mood to sit in a really brightly lit room during the day when it's chucking it down with rain outside. So where the ginger was, I planted chard. And I multi-sowed the chard, 2 or 3 seeds per module. And I planted them pretty densely because I'm going to be harvesting that chard for baby leaf for salads. We've got some big mature plants outside. They'll slow down quite a lot over winter, but these ones in the polytunnel should get loads of light and should do really well. And it's really nice to have some colour in the salad mixes, and I think that a great way of doing that is with chard. And I also planted my second bed of spring cabbages. So I'm sowing them a bit later than I did last year because a lot of them went to seed last year, so it would be a bit nicer to have some hearted cabbages as well as the loose leaf cabbages that we harvested last year. And I did notice when I was on the plot that all of my field beans are now up, and so I did a harvest of those, first harvest, and I'll leave them now for 3 or 4 weeks so they can grow new shoots, and really looking forward to those. And all of my onions are up as well, so that's great. Most of my onions I do from seed, but I did do 1 batch of sets, Shenshu yellow, because I got sent those, and it's really nice to see them up and growing so healthy. And then when I got home, I had another nice surprise. My friend Jerry at growseed.co.uk sends me a lot of seeds, which I'm really grateful for. And he sent me a massive batch of seeds. So about 80% of the seeds I sow, I get given, not all from Jennie, but from different companies, and I also get some from the Grow Your Own magazine. And I buy some special varieties as well that I can't source any other way. And yeah, so it's a lovely surprise when I get a package from Jennie. So on Thursday it was really raining heavily again, so I did my normal morning routine, Caffè Nero, health club and all that. And then when I got home, I thought, oh, I've forgotten completely about this little bed, 2 beds actually, of beetroot. And I can't really understand how I forgot about them, but basically I just wasn't harvesting them, I think. And so I was just ignoring them, maybe thought they were charred or something. Anyway, I pulled them up, and what a great harvest. We actually had a really bad patch of beetroot that just didn't grow at all for our storage crop of beetroot this year. For some reason, we had like a really good patch, and then another really good patch, and then just in the middle of that, just a patch that just didn't grow. And I've never been able to understand why, other than that it followed broad beans, and I've not seen anything that says that beetroot doesn't like following broad beans. But anyway, this batch didn't, and so we got no harvest from it. But fortunately, this little batch that I forgot about basically filled that gap. And so amazingly, even though we've got about 1/3 less land this year, and one of the crops that we sacrificed was beetroot, I think we actually ended up with more beetroot this year than we had last year. So our store is absolutely crammed full of beetroot, and I've still got another bed to harvest that I forgot. And since it's raining, and plants love to be planted when it's raining, I planted 2 beds of lamb's lettuce, and this is again one of my favourite crops for winter. I like it because it's one of the few things you can grow outside in winter, and I've got quite a lot of outside beds, and I like to have living roots in the soil on my beds all the time. So I popped those in, as I said, 2 beds of those, 2 trays of 40, and they'll be harvested probably sort of middle of January, when we're at our lowest in terms of salad veg harvesting, to about the middle of February. And so during that month, those 4 weeks, we'll be harvesting loads of lamb's lettuce, and that'll make up perhaps 1/3 of the salad mixes. And that allows us to kind of spare the true salad beds, lettuce beds, and just give them a bit of a rest from harvesting, because, as I said, they're not growing really at that point. So if you harvest them too much, you really weaken the plants. So we like to have some alternatives for that period, and we've got 2 main alternatives. One is winter miner's lettuce, which grows outside, which I've got another big bed of, and as I said, lamb's lettuce, 2 great winter outside lettuces, which is really remarkable, I think, that they do so well outside. And so we come to Friday. Now, I normally harvest on a Sunday, but because the weather forecast for Saturday and Sunday was so bad, I decided that I would harvest on Friday. And what a good decision that was, because it was a lovely day, and I really enjoyed, sort of highlight of the week, to do the harvest on a lovely day. And that now is the time really when harvests are so amazing, because you've got so much food, and it's cool, which means that all the food keeps really well while I'm in the process of harvesting it. I still generally harvest into water though. And it's just lovely, and there's lots of people on the allotment, so there's lots of chatting going on and lots of sharing and bartering of food and all of that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just such a lovely time of year, and the harvest was absolutely beautiful. And I will just pop in a little segment into this video now of me just running through that harvest. Right, so let's just finish off with the harvest, I think. And yeah, let's dive into those peppers there. So we're starting to pick a lot of green peppers now, because we know we won't get them all right, and we've got lots of friends that really like green peppers. So that tub there is all greens, and that tub there will be all reds by the end of the week, because they're all starting to turn. And we just put them on in a big cardboard box with some mouldy apples, and they just ripen really well. So yeah, within a week they'll all be ready, and we'll have more to take their place. So we've got a few more peppers, and this is the very last few of the tomatoes that we've been ripening in that same box with the same mouldy apples. We've got some brassicas here, so these are kale leaves and Brussels sprout leaves, Tuscan kale leaves, green curly kale, pak choy and tatsoi, some lovely red peppers, just a few little turnips, a few little onions for the salad mixes, and we actually, I think we'll have spring onions next week, so I'm really looking forward to that. Red cabbage, parsnips, and these are Jerusalem artichokes, and they look gorgeous, and we'll have up those all through winter. And so now we've got some apples, spinach, and the first pick of the field bean tips, and I've taken the whole growing tip off, so now there's basically nothing in the beds, and most of them will regrow. Not every one, but most of them will regrow, and so you get a kind of bonus harvest. Now if you plant them in late October, then you don't have to take the whole tip off, you can just sort of leave them to grow over winter and start harvesting them in sort of late February sort of time. But if you harvest them now, you get an extra bonus harvest, but you do lose a few. I've got some beans. I think this is the last of the beans. Long range weather forecast shows us going below 10 degrees down to about 8 degrees at night consistently. So I think the beans are finished. And these are just a few scrappy beetroot. And I actually harvest a nice batch of golden beetroot from one of the beds that I'd just forgotten about, and so I put it in store, but these are just the, as I say, the rejects that were left over. And a few more beetroot and some onions to give away. They're just from the store. Some potatoes to give away from the store. A few carrots, some parsley, and I can never remember what this one's called. I'll come back to it. Some apples for eating fresh. All the apples that we need really for dehydrating and for apple sauces and things like that, they've all been processed. Debbie's done some pickling, red cabbages. We've just got a few chili peppers left, and as I said, some more red peppers. So I think that is pretty much it for the cooked veg harvest. Very colourful. So it's a very small salad harvest this week, and that's just because we're picking on Friday rather than a Sunday, so people don't need as much salad, and there's no point picking enough to get to next Sunday because it doesn't really keep much beyond 6 or 7 days in the fridge. So let's just take a quick look. So basically we've got the salad bases, again as usual, lots of different types of lettuce in those right now, little salad onions, some nice, well they're big now, radishes, probably they're almost the last cucumbers, and actually my cucumbers in the conservatory are not looking good. I think they might have got a virus, so that might be the last harvest or the penultimate harvest of cucumbers. And that is, I think, the last harvest of the tomatoes. So we will be buying tomatoes. We don't mind buying fruits out of season because we eat salads every single day of the year. So I'm just going to make those mixes up. So that's what we ended up with. That's probably the smallest salad harvest I've ever done. Anyway, there we go. Those are mine. Gorgeous. And I normally do a special harvest video every week, but I'm not going to do that anymore. If you like this sort of more kind of newsy review of the week format and so this will take the place of the harvest video. and I'll just include the harvest video in it. So at the bottom of my diary, I've got a few extracts for actually live views onto my planning database. And the first one of those is the new harvest, first harvest for this year. So I did three first harvests this week. First one was Jerusalem artichokes. I really like them. I have them every night now in my evening meal. Pretty much and from now until maybe January or something like that. And they're just so lovely at the moment. So much better than they are in January, to be honest. And then we got the ginger and the first of the pears. So it was a nice week. Lots of firsts. So what did I plant? Well, I planted the green garlic and I replanted the ginger. And I, what else did I do? Planted the cabbages. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through this. Yeah, planted the chard, planted the lamb's lettuce. So I talked about all of those. And that is pretty much it. So Saturday, what have I done today? Well, I don't need my laptop and my iPad to remind me for what I did today. Did my normal rainy day routine, Cafe Nero and gym. And then in the afternoon, I went to the allotment and took a load of seedling trays. So I'll be planting a lot next week. I like to take them to the allotment for sort of 4 or 5 days before I do the planting. Just lets them acclimatise to the slightly cooler weather than they've been enjoying in this conservatory. They don't, strictly speaking, need hardening off because they're all going to go under in cold frames or low tunnels or the polytunnel or whatever. It just helps them just to transition a little bit. So lots of exciting planting for next week. What else did I do? I moved a lot of water. So I got this great setup. I've got this great little pump, and it allows me to move water around the allotment site. I've got 2 batteries for it. I moved about 1,000 litres. It took about an hour. And I was just tidying up the plot basically while I was moving the water. So I'm at the point now where my collection tanks, which collect water off the shed roof and the polytunnel, they were all full. And I've got a couple of cubic metres worth of collection capability from there. And I moved about 1,000 litres to storage tanks, so IBC tanks and tanks that I've got around the periphery of the allotment. And so that means I'm pretty much full in terms of my storage capacity, and I've got about 1,000 litres of capture space that's empty, and we'll probably fill that again this week with the amount of rain that's coming. So we're in pretty good shape. So I think that's it. That's my review of the week, and I will generally do this and publish this on a Sunday. And do give me a bit of feedback. Is it any good? Are you interested in it? Carrying on? Do you think it would be suitable as a podcast? And if it would you be interested in it? So there we go. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.